Markets pop on better than expected inflation news 2 days in a row. Let's jump in and take a look at what's going on. Currently, the market is about to close in a couple of minutes. Dow is up 1%, 1.1%, S&P up 1.31, NASDAQ up 1.94, and the S&P heading for the best close in 2 months. And stocks are jumping with big tech leading as traders cheered another report to cooling U.S. inflation. So the Fed pause narrative is back on the table. The PPI data confirmed easing of inflation trend with Wednesday's March consumer price index, which advanced just 0.1% month over month. So inflation from the data that the Fed looks at is definitely cooling. The question is it cooling enough for the Fed to not hike 25 basis points in May? And we have a little bit of, a couple, 2-3 weeks before the Fed meets and makes that decision. Most likely they're going to go ahead and hike 25 basis points, and that will probably be the last time. And what's going to be important at that meeting is the guidance that the Fed offers and the comments by Jay Powell. The other thing the markets have to get ahead of and start to understand is earnings. So this is a big week in earnings. You got banks, you got tech coming out. A lot of things happening. So that's really going to affect the markets in terms of actual earnings and guidance offered by, all the companies that are reporting between now and the Fed meeting in terms of, stock price action and valuations of where, the markets are right now. Earnings are going to have to justify current valuations because markets have, the PE multiples priced in at pretty high levels considering where we are from an interest rate perspective. So that's the thing that can affect the markets the most between now and the time the Fed meets and gives their decision. Here's the Dow right here, kind of ranging in this area since March, the beginning of March, nice little bounce. And I guess that was about the middle of March. Yeah, beginning of March was right in this area here, had a little drop and a bounce. And, on the Fed pivot narrative and, the market's pricing in a Fed pause, Fed pivot. Same thing with S&P, NASDAQ, kind of hanging out, S&P still kind of hanging out, everything kind of ranging sideways, waiting for earnings, waiting for another decision by the Fed. And then, of course, recession watch begins. So as long as, earnings are decent, if earnings are strong, the markets are going to take off and start ripping again. And especially Bitcoin and crypto, same thing. If earnings come in, poorly, then the markets will potentially sell off and start working their way back down to retest the October lows again. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about recession and recession watch on the table. The Fed minutes the other day said that they are obviously looking at recession, which is what it takes to cool the economy. It's all the business cycles, right? When the economy is hot and inflation is running high, the Fed needs to change policy, increase interest rates, tighten monetary policy to cool the economy off. When the economy is sluggish, then the Fed needs to get in, reduce interest rates, and stimulate the market. A lot of the market participants are expecting the Fed to do that by before the end of the year. The Fed is saying they aren't. So that's the dance and the duel that's going on right now between the markets and the Fed. Here's the dollar retesting that February low, putting in what could be the W pattern that a lot of people are looking for the dollar to reverse, given a market situation. Economic situation. The VIX down on low levels where we typically see a reversal. So a lot of things are setting up for a potential, at least a little bit of a profit-taking retracement in the markets. 2-year, 10-year popping a little bit today. Oil is continuing its rise, but backing up a little bit, kind of hanging in that $70 to $80. Wait a minute, here it goes. U.S. oil is right here. Yeah, hanging in that 80 to $83 range. A lot of people projecting $90 to $100 oil. We'll have to see if it gets there with the summer demand and consumption. Gold continuing its march, pulled back a little bit today, and Bitcoin continuing its march, breaking this major trend line, connecting the April 2021 high with the March, April of 2022 high, all the way down here. Breaking above that line right now, reversing a little bit on the day. We saw a 30,600 high so far in this range here. And ultimately, it could potentially get up and test 32,000 before a broader pullback. And if we look at a retracement from this range low where we are right now up into this level. A pullback at the 618 will put it down around that 21,000, 702 at the 19. So I think the expectations are that a pullback into that 19 to 20,000 level is probable and most likely, and that's where you'll look for support for continuation on. If this is going to be a new bullish phase for Bitcoin, you're going to want to see that $19,000, $20,000 level hold, price kind of work in that range a little bit, then continue onward from there. Obviously, if that breaks, then most likely that 15,900, 15,600 level will definitely get tested at that point if 19, 20,000 doesn't hold. So Bitcoin hasn't had a meaningful pullback from this recent leg up. So the probabilities are pretty good that you're going to see somewhat of a pullback. And a lot of people shorten these ranges, and then they get liquidated, so that pumps the price up and keeps it going. Ethereum had a nice little pop on the Shanghai update, reaching the peak of its top level. So let's take a look at what that retracement would potentially look like for Ethereum if it did a pullback. 618 is down around the $1,320 level, 702, $1,220 level, and the 786 at the $1,100 level. So those are the levels to watch for Ethereum in this range right now as it continues its march after that most recent update. We look at XRP, still kind of hanging out, rejected off this top level of that recent bounce on settlement news. Cardano kind of ranging, hanging out. Solana made a move the other day, popped up about 8% or so, kind of hanging in the top of this range here. So everything just kind of consolidating right now, waiting on guidance basically from what's happening with earnings, what the traditional markets are going to do. It's almost like a capital rotation going on, right? Like the stock markets have almost become basically the altcoins rotation in terms of capital going in and out of Bitcoin, in and out of gold, in and out of the markets. So it's pretty interesting price action to watch, especially with Bitcoin lately, carving out that store of value narrative with the bank issue going on. When you compare the Bitcoin chart to the gold chart, a lot of similar price action in that range, right in here, although gold has put in a triple top and could potentially reverse back down to this bottom range of $1,600. A lot of people are calling for, a bull run in gold. But if equities continue to do well, gold will potentially pull back, especially if the banks are safe and secure right now. So these are the things that I'm looking at. I'll see you in the next video.